What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Zachary X. How are y'all doing today? This is a little different. This is another little rant slash essay video. I don't know if I call this a video essay. I'm not really citing sources. Well, I'm citing the show, I guess. That counts. Anyway, here's what I'm. So for a while now, there's been this joke that a lot of people have made. A lot of people are taking a lot more seriously than they should now. Hey, remember when the show used to be about assassins killing people? Yeah. Many people have had this complaint for years now that the show forgot what it was and has taken this turn into very soap opera territory, which yeah, it definitely has. The thing that appealed to many about the show, meaning the assassination jobs, definitely took a back seat as the show went on. Like, I fully understand where people are coming from when they say that. I do. But honestly, the jobs themselves kind of became less and less significant by the end of the first season. Like, don't get me wrong, I love the jobs as well, and especially all the ones that they go on in the early episodes. But in my opinion, I think it makes a lot more sense for most of the jobs to be put into shorts than whole episodes. Realistically, most of these jobs wouldn't actually last that long because despite how they act on their off time that we see them, they're very good at their jobs. Like, everyone's very good at their jobs. I feel like it's clear that most of their jobs wouldn't take up an entire episode, and honestly, trying to force them into like stretching one job into 20, 26 minutes, even 15 minutes, just create more pacing issues than there already are. Aside from that, the common complaint was always that this show was always about killing people. But is that really all the show was ever about? Was Helluva Boss really always only just about assassins killing people? Is Helluva Boss really that different from what it was? Or is it fully cooked now and we're seeing it what it was always meant to be? I'd argue the latter. So often to make the point that this show was always meant to be about assassins killing people, people will often just point to the pilot, which is understandable. The point of a pilot is to basically be proof of concept more than anything. There's a lot of pilots that are canon to the entire series itself, such as Craig of the Creek, for example, which they actually recreate the opening for in the 100th episode, if you want to look at that right there. Shameless plug. However, while that may be the case for some shows, many parts of the pilot for Helluva Boss aren't really canon when you look at it in conjunction with the rest of the series. If you want a more in-depth look at that, I recommend listening to this episode of Not Just Tentacles podcast. Highly recommend. But just to run through a few things. Millie does not have her country accent in the pilot. Luna does not have syphilis. Solus does not have human enemies on Earth. Speaking of Earth, the team itself is a lot more stealthy than in the pilot, where they literally threw a child's dead body onto a grieving mom on live TV, where they then waved to the damn camera before leaving. Like, it's pretty emphasized that what they're doing isn't really legal, even in hell, so they can still get in trouble for interdimensional crime. Does any of this sound anywhere close to the rest of the series? I think not. The only things from the pilot that truly are canon are the business, the deal with Solus, and that he and Blitz stepped together in his bed. The pilot itself is just introducing us to the characters and the company and the setting, which is hell. Basically, it's the foundation of the series, but it is not the end-all be-all of what the series is, nor what it was meant to be. I'm sure we can agree on that at least, right? So, did the show really shift its focus away from the jobs for character drama? Honestly, I'd say no, and I'd argue that the jobs themselves started becoming less and less significant as the first season went on itself. Like, let's recount what happened in the first season, shall we? First, we get into episode 1 with Miss Mayberry, and it's her first job. It's already shown early that Moxie is having trouble with the idea of killing a whole family, showing that he has some level of morals, and this is also likely what made a lot of people think that he was the main character. Blitz is shown to be his chaotic self, as well as us seeing Stolas and him make the deal so Blitz can use the book. All this happens on the job, but this episode itself was more about Moxie and him kind of getting comfortable with the job, as well as just showing how sideways the jobs themselves can easily go. Then we get into episode 2, which isn't even really a job. Stolas calls up Blitz because he needs a bodyguard for him and his daughter Octavia as they go to Lululand. This episode mainly centers around Stolas and Octavia, even highlighting some trouble from Blitz's past when he ends up running afoul on these Fizzbots. The episode really isn't about a job, it's more Stolas centered plus Eminem shenanigans. And mind you, this is episode 2. Next up is episode 3, Spring Broken. We meet Verosika and Vortex. This episode is mainly about us meeting Blitz's ex, as well as seeing some characterization for Luna, plus more Eminem shenanigans, which I gotta say I love. Side note for a second, to all the people out there that were trying to slander Millie, thinking that she cheated on Moxie when it was revealed that she's pregnant, shut up. I'm not gonna be nice about this. No, shut up. You sound stupid. As many times as we've seen the M&Ms go at it on screen, there's a good chance we saw that baby's conception, okay? Shut up. And while we're on it, to all the people slandering Octavia, leave her the fuck alone. She is 17, she lived sheltered her whole life, she has no friends, her mom is terrible, and probably doesn't even remember her name, honestly. She has every right to be mad at Stolas. He left her in the dark, he went out of his way not to tell her, and in her eyes, he broke the one promise that he made to her, which is that he would never leave. Even if it wasn't of his own choice, he's still gone. Then we got episode 4 with the Cherubs, and this episode is more about introducing the Cherubs and having an Angels versus Demon episode. Plus the job itself in the end turned out to be less of a hit job and more of a reuniting two terrible friends. Capitalism. Then we go into episode 5, Harvest Moon Festival. Again, this isn't really an assassin job, it's more of a bodyguard job, similar to Lululand. This is where we get introduced to Stryker and the increasing misunderstanding of his character starts. This was more about Moxie trying to prove himself to Millie's family, as well as Millie having to deal with side comments and shit from her family. Also getting introduced to Sally Mae, best girl. Honestly, I don't even think anybody died in this episode, thinking about it. Did anyone die? Then we have the bomb that is Truth Seekers, which this episode is actually an example of something else. I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, but a lot of these episodes tend to open with them having just gotten off of jobs, and this is one of them. They just finished up a job and we're about to go back before the dorks discovered them. Blitz and Moxie get caught by the dorks and have a heart-to-heart because of the truth serum. We also got Luna and Millie who are off trying to save them and bust into this place. Big cool-ass bloody action sequence, protect the monster Stolas. Again, the job isn't really that important in this episode. Then in episode 7 is Ozzy's, this heartbreaking ass episode. That again opens with them having just gotten off of a job. You see what I mean? Like, should I even mention episode 8? You know what, fuck it. Episode 8, Queen Bee. The business isn't even mentioned or seen in this episode, let alone a job. This is a Luna-centric episode that also has us revisiting Vortex, best guy, honestly, underrated male character Vortex, as well as the Queen Bee of Hell, Beelzebub, the sin of gluttony. That's the point of that episode. If we look at all 8 episodes from season 1, only like 2 of them actually center on the job and assassin hits. Hell, honestly, if we look at all of them, only 6 of them actually show the damn office. The episodes that don't even show the office, Harvest Moon Festival and Queen Bee. Yeah, let that sink in for a second. Then when you take season 2 into account, the gap gets even wider. Look, I think it's pretty clear that the show itself was never simply just about demons killing people, and frankly, it's a good thing that it isn't. The people who think that this should have just been like Deadpool with demons, that wouldn't have worked. Not to mention, a lot of y'all really don't even know anything about Deadpool, because Blitz and Deadpool do have some similarities. They're both foul-mouthed, they both love their guns, and they're both very sexual, specifically pansexual. Then again, most of y'all also don't even want to acknowledge that Wade's queer, similar to how a lot of y'all don't want to acknowledge that Huskin Has Been Hotel isn't straight, but I won't get into that. Look, the show's not called Imp, the show's not called IMP, it's called Helluva Boss. And who is the boss? Blitz. Blitz is the boss in Helluva Boss. The show has always been about Blitz. In a broader sense, it's about a scrappy, queer, working class demon in hell trying to build something for himself and the people he cares about, rediscovering old friendships, forging new ones, and finding love, something he thought he'd never have in the one place and person he never expected. It's Blitz's story. Now, if you're not one for romance and drama, I get it. If you don't like where the story's gone on from the hit jobs and the shorts aren't enough for you, this isn't what you were expecting, and that's understandable. But please understand something. If you are a person that has been following this for a long time, or you are a person that donated on Patreon, please understand, you were not promised anything. You weren't, okay? Because there's a lot of people who always take this notion that the show was always meant to be something as if they were promised something and they weren't given it. And you weren't promised anything. If you donated to the Patreon, please understand, you were helping Viv make her show. You were helping to pay animators and writers. You are doing that. Your help made that happen with your support. But at the end of the day, it is still Viv's show. You don't dictate what happens in the show. You don't dictate what it's about. You don't get writing privileges or writing credits, okay? At best, you get an executive producer credit, which, look, I'm gonna be honest, sorry to burst your bubble, anybody can get that by putting forward money, okay? Mainly because that's kind of what the job of a producer is, to get the money. Like, executive producers are usually people who put forth money in a project. Like, guys, Will Smith has a production credit on Cobra Kai, so think about that. In conclusion, Helluva Boss never changed. We just watched it cook, and now, here we are. There's so many possibilities, and frankly, if we're gonna speculate, I feel like we should be speculating on fun things. So, here's 3 things I want y'all to write in the comment section, okay? Number 1, if Moxie and Millie keep their baby, what do you think the name should be? Mine is Max, gender neutral, it can be short for Maxwell or Maxine. Question number 2, do you think Luna will help Octavia understand what happened during the trial? I've been saying this for a while, but Luna is basically Octavia's big sister, and if anybody can get her on board and get her to understand, it's Luna. And number 3, what do you think Lucifer's reaction to the trial on television during Mastermind was? Because I'm kind of curious about that. Bonus points if you add the other members of the Has-Been Hotel. I want to know what their reactions were to it too. Anyway, that's all I have to say for this. Comment down below. Tell me what you think. Don't forget to like, subscribe. I will see you all later. Goodbye. I dropped my phone. Goodbye.